President Biden has dropped his re-election campaign, and Vice President Harris is certainly acting as if she will be the nominee. Corn and soybeans, cattle and hogs are reacting to weekend events with rallies, while wheat futures hanging close to unchanged. Equities are charging ahead with the stocks leading the way, the tech stocks.
Live from another beginning to the work week again. And via Farm Journal Studios, this morning we'll begin with a conversation with Machinery Pete. That's Greg Peterson. Then it's Kurt Kovarik from Clean Fuels Alliance America. And later, Tyler Harp from Syngenta. Directly following the news, Brett Waltz from BAM WX. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, here's the host of AgriTalk, Chip Flory.
All right, Davis, thank you so much. Welcome to AgriTalk.
What? There you go, buddy. Okay. Sorry, I thought we lost you there.
I'm here. Might be a bit of a delay because of some of the issues that we're dealing with here, that we continue to deal with, that corporate America continues to deal with. It's absolutely crazy, some of the problems that were created. Also, as long as we're speaking of absolutely crazy, how about the weekend events? Biden apparently is out. He has apparently endorsed Vice President Harris. The fundraising has quickly accelerated. Evidently, all of the paperwork has been done to put Harris at the top of the ticket for the Biden campaign, which makes the funds in the Biden-Harris campaign available to Harris and question mark. Those that seem to have convinced Biden to step aside, that being Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, have reportedly not endorsed Harris at this point. And so they evidently support an open convention next month. And let's face it, Davis, what Obama, Pelosi, Jeffries, and Schumer want, evidently they get. So I don't know if we can assume that Harris will be the nominee yet or not.
Yeah, it's an unfolding, ongoing. President Biden has maintained from day one that the vice president, Ms. Harris, is up for the job. He wouldn't have picked her if she wasn't. This is what Biden has said all along. We'll just see if the party agrees.
That's right. Let's go ahead and get on to the news. What do you got, buddy?
You bet. Chip, according to the National Weather Service, dangerous heat will continue across the West with widespread excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. The West should see relief from hazardous heat by Friday. The heat will expand into the northern plains on Tuesday. Heavy to excessive rainfall today in the mid-Atlantic to Carolinas, southern Rockies, and West Texas into Ark-La-Tex, which may lead to areas of flash urban and stream flooding. A little bit of break here in the heat. 74 degrees and sunny here in the city of Fountains, the Paris of the Midwest, Kansas City, USA. Moving on, I've got a daily sales report here. What? Peanut Gallery?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I've got private exporters reporting sales of 133,000 metric tons of corn for delivery to Mexico. That's during the 24-25 marketing year. Nice to see a little demand for some corn from Mexico here. That's in the 24-25 marketing year. All three stock indices registered losses on Friday, but the Dow managed to gain for the week, while the NASDAQ and S&P 500 both had losing results. Oil prices dropped significantly on Friday, reaching their lowest levels since mid-June, as investors considered a potential ceasefire in Gaza and a stronger U.S. dollar. We've got Netanyahu here in the United States meeting with President Biden this week. We'll see if they can come up with any sorts of agreements here. Both sides, Israel and Hamas, have their heels dug in at this point. It'd be nice to find a ceasefire solution. President Joe Biden announced on Sunday, as we said, he will no longer seek the Democratic Party's nomination. With Mr. Biden out of the race, the Democratic Party must officially name their nominee at the National Convention in Chicago. Now, that's held on August 19. Biden has endorsed his running mate, Vice President Kamala Harris, for the nomination. However, other candidates could still challenge Harris for the nomination. This potentially leads to a contested convention. The Harris campaign has raised $49.6 million since President Biden endorsed her. $49.6 million since, yesterday did he announce? Or was it? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Crazy stuff. That's a good amount of money right there. Lawmakers are currently questioning Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle at a congressional hearing following the assassination attempt on former President Trump just over a week ago. The Secret Service recently admitted that there have been instances where it did not provide full federal resources to Trump's campaign. Congress returns this week with a focus on fiscal year 2025 appropriations, with House Rules and floor debate on several bills that will include USDA funding. There will also be a House floor action on the Water Resources Development Act and hearings on the Secret Service, as we said, and the glitches in protecting former President Donald Trump. Federal officials have indicated that the time to lower rates is approaching, although a rate cut next week is unlikely. Inflation has been normalizing and the job market is showing signs of cooling, both factors that support the Fed's goal of moving inflation toward its 2% target. Looking ahead, Wall Street sees a 95% probability that the Fed will maintain the current interest rates at the end of its meeting next week. Chip, let's all right. Over and get the weather.
Thank you very much, Davis. Let's bring in Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. Hey, Brett. It looks like a chance of rain in the middle of the country on Tuesday, but after that we get into a drier pattern. What do you see?
Yeah, there's really not a ton of activity going on as we work over the next 7 days or so. As you mentioned, maybe some activity up in Minnesota, Iowa tomorrow, but all things considered, especially compared to where we were for a good part of June, it's relatively inactive over the next 7 days or so for much of the growing region.
Okay. As we get deeper into the month and into August, what do the patterns look like? What are they shaping up to be?
Well, it's going to get warmer. It's been pretty cool for the most part for many, really the last several days, and it will be still over the next few days. But as we work later on into this week, the western plains start to heat up, and that will continue to spread eastward as we close out July and into early August. I still think the core of the heat's across the western portions of the belt, and I think there's a west to east divide setting up. More rains further east, drier and hotter further off to the west.
Okay, any red flags that you see? That western belt sounds a little sketchy. Is that La Nina starting to grab a hold of the weather patterns?
I think a little bit. I think that as we go further on into August, the idea has been as we feel a little bit more of that, and especially if we can get tropical activity to ramp back up. I do have some concerns that the western belt, especially if they've missed out, some spots have missed out the past several weeks, can start to grow those abnormally dry conditions versus where they are right now.
All right, Brett. Hey, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week. Brett Waltz, BAMWX.com. All right, guys, we are off and running here on this Monday morning. Coming up next, we got to get an update from Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. We're going to be talking about RVOs before the end of the show today. We've got a lot to cover here on AgriTalk.
Machinery Pete here, folks. This segment of AgriTalk brought to you by our friends at Dakota Ag Innovations, makers of Dakota Shine, the best way I've seen to fix faded paint. Go to dakotashine.com or call 888-996-7801.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flory. It is time for our weekly conversation with Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. Greg, it's good to talk to you, buddy. How you doing? Huh. Lost Greg.
Hear me, guys?
Oh, there you are. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, now we got him.
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good, good. All right, we got you. Let's go ahead and get straight to the pick of the week, Greg. What have you got?
Yeah, we had a hot tractor price last Wednesday, guys. It was an online farm estate auction in Vinton, Iowa by Merritt Auctions. My friends Zach and Johnny and Jim Huff, they're great guys. They had a 2007 John Deere 5625 tractor. It only had 500 hours on it, so obviously very low for 17-year-old tractor, pre-def. Sold with a loader, went for $51,000. That's the all-time record high price on a John Deere 5625. Of course, helped by the fact that it's when you combine pre-def with low hours, even though things are softening up a little bit, that's still a recipe for strong price. The previous high I'd ever seen was $49,750 3.5 years ago on an auction in Uniondale, Pennsylvania. And that 5625 only had 49 hours in a loader. So again, strong price at $51K Wednesday out of Vinton, Iowa.
I guess it doesn't. I'm a little surprised to hear you talking about a record price, Greg. I guess it shouldn't surprise us that we're talking about a loader tractor, right?
Yeah, they're continuing to hold better than the high horse tractors. But obviously the heat's come off, so the records. Whereas before, you'd ask me for a pick of the week every Monday, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, there's like 25 record prices." For like 2.5 years, we were running across that. So now it's much more rare.
Yep,
but yeah, I think the price of new, obviously, so you get a 17-year-old like new 500 hours. That even though dollars are tighter, then again, with maybe a few more dollars in this loader tractor sector. Farmers there. So anyway, auction prices holding a little stronger there for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I feel like we need to jump into the what's coming up because you've always got a busy schedule, Greg, but this, man, the numbers are starting to add up here pretty quick, aren't they? What do you got coming up?
Yeah, it's going to be a very busy week in terms of dealer equipment hitting the auction market, in particular late model large equipment. So, folks, if you're anywhere around Paris, Missouri on Saturday, come on out. Wheeler Auction and Real Estate, their huge annual July consignment auction, pushing 3,000 pieces for sale. We'll be there filming for our TV show. And check out the website, folks. It's wheelerauctions.com. But I got looking this morning, Chip, and you want to talk dealers. Let's see. It's like, 11, 12, 13 dealers. Seidenstricker, Nobi, HW, Ag Power, Jenner Ag, JW Equipment, Martin Tractor, Hudson Inc., H&R AgriPower, Quality Equipment, Beard Implement, Fecht Equipment. In fact, if you look at Seidenstricker, Nobi, our great friends there, John Deere dealer across the Missouri. Gosh, I think they have quite a big footprint now, but they have 12 23 model high horse tractors on the auction and 4 23 model combines. I mean, this is going to be a huge sale. Wheeler's July and January sales are massive. I've been kidding with Chaz Wheeler and Kirby Fecht down there for years. Like, I gotta get down there and film it for our TV show. So we're excited to be heading down Saturday. So if you're in the area, folks, stop on out. We're going to have a big day there, and we'll test the market for sure.
Well, yeah. And we talk about that from time to time, and we do get into periods where there is a test of the market, and it certainly feels like we're getting back into it. And a lot of it's got to do with how the dealers are managing their inventory, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. The one stat I think we chatted about a couple weeks ago, Chip, but I kind of tore into the first 6 months of 2024 and looked back. Of course, I've been doing this 34 years, so it actually the stat didn't surprise me, but it's shocking in what it is, and it's the raw number of 1 and 2 year old equipment items hitting the auction block the first 6 months of 24, now dragging into July. Yeah. So 70, I think it was like 72 or 73% increase versus last year. And if you go back 3 years ago when the used equipment market was tighter than a drum, and that's when we were starting to get all these records, 351% increase in 1 and 2 year old equipment items hitting the auction market. So like you said, it's these larger dealers being super aggressive, trying to get out front and move some of this inventory. And that is, the one thing I would advise folks, if you're if you are in the market or you're thinking in the next year or so, whatever, your past history would tell you, okay, this might stretch out a bit. There's going to be some good deals for a while here. The inventory is turning quicker, way, way quicker this time.
Yeah.
So, big opportunity there Saturday.
It's a different animal.
It's a different animal. It's a different world. Of course, online auctions.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow, Van Wall Equipment, our friends there in Iowa, they're selling 40 items through Sullivan Auctioneers and Big Iron, 7 combines, 6 track tractors, I think 27 1 to 3-year-old equipment items. So check out bigiron.com for that one, folks. Then also Big Iron on Wednesday. They've got 2,000 pieces selling. They've got some stuff from AKRS out of Nebraska, John Deere dealer, and Butler Machinery Company out of Indiana. Then on Thursday, they have a sale for Tractor Central out of Wisconsin, 69 items, 6 combines, 5 tractors. So again, this week, a lot of late model equipment up for sale.
Boy, I guess. Yeah, this is it looked well based on what you just said. If you want a tractor and you can't get one here this week, you might not be trying hard enough.
Well, I'll just say that if you're looking to buy, it's you're in a very good position. Now, obviously, easy for me to say. I mean, obviously, it's tough. Dollars are tight. I totally understand. But on the used equipment side, supply and demand, maybe demand is off a little bit there. We understand why, but supply is up. So you put the two together, and I'll be keeping score just like always. So watch our machinerypete.com website. All the auction prices are free, folks, to view. So we'll be jamming them in there after all this stuff sells. So, keep an eye out and see how the prices are holding up.
Okay. There is a collector's auction coming up there in Rock Valley. Minneapolis Moline. We had a few of the yellow tractors on my farm growing up.
Prairie Gold, I tell you, it was big fun on, I think it was Thursday last week. I drove over to Rock Valley and met with my friends Mark and Blake with Zomer Company Realty and Auction, and they're having it might be the largest Minneapolis Moline collector estate auction I've seen. I mean, it is massive. Wow. Go to zomercompany.com, folks. I actually posted a YouTube video Saturday morning. Just check out our Machine Repeat YouTube channel. It's like an hour and 5 minutes. We just did a walkthrough with the daughter of the folks that spent a lifetime collecting this. And her grandpa, by the way, was a Minneapolis Moline dealer over by Sioux City, I think. Diana, a really nice gal, but walked through 3 sheds and hearing the stories about her folks. And this auction's unusual because it's not just mini-mo tractors. There's tons of combines, choppers, pickers, plows, drills. There's even a Minneapolis Moline cotton picker. So if you're into Minneapolis Moline, this auction has it all. Again, it's August 16th. Go to zomercompany.com, folks. Watch that YouTube video. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
I guess. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. That's really cool. Okay, real quick. There was that sale over there in Conto, Nebraska, with that Ford Ranger. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was Saturday. Adam Marshall Land and Auction had the sale at Conto, Nebraska. It was for Melvin Ochtenberg. 2003 Ford Ranger, regular cab, red, only 19,748 miles, sold for $16,750. So not every day you see a 20-plus-year-old Ranger with under 20K miles on it, so that was pretty cool.
Well, it looks like we lost both Chip and Davis in one fell swoop there, Greg.
Well, can you hear me, Joe?
Yes, I can. And so can millions and millions of listeners all around the world.
I know these computer glitches of the past week have been tough for everyone to deal with. Hats off to you guys for making the show happen.
Oh, we like running.
Hey, I'm back.
Oh, hey, Chip. I'll let you take over.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Big Apple Joe. I appreciate that. Thank you, Greg. We'll talk to you later.
Sounds great.
All right, Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. Coming up next, we are going to have a conversation with Kurt Kovarik. He is the VP of Federal Affairs at the Clean Fuels Alliance America. And coming up here real quick, we're going to check in on what's going on in a big rally in the soy complex. That's it.
Time for Markets Now with the experts from Pro Farmer.
Joining us now, Pro Farmer editor Brian Grady. Beach, big rally in the soy complex. Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely explosive, Chip. We've got more than 20-cent gains in new crop contracts. Not quite that much in the front month August contract, but broad-based buying too, because $6 to $10 higher, in the soy meal market. 50 to 75 points higher in most of the soy oil contracts, and just explosive. So we're seeing funds cover some of those record short positions in the soybean market.
All right. A little bit of strength going on in the corn and wheat market as well. Tell us about that, and then jump straight over to the livestock trade.
Yeah, so the corn...
We lost Beach.
Oh, we lost Brian. All right, well, I'll jump in here. We've got a little bit of a rally going on in the corn market as well, 5 to 7 cents higher. Then in the wheat trade, kind of hanging out close to unchanged, steady to just 2.5 cents higher there. I'll jump us on over to the livestock trade. We've got the live cattle market and feeder cattle market trading $1.50 to $2 higher, most contracts. August live cattle just up $1.10 right now. Going to be looking for some support from the cash market this week. Got a moderate rally happening in lean hog futures, 40 to 75 cents higher in that market, and trying to hold on and get a bit of an upside correction rolling again. We've got Kovarik.
Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. Our name says it all. AgriTalk. What more do you need to know?
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm your host, Chip Flora. Glad that you are with us on this, what is really a Monday morning here for us on AgriTalk. Great conversation there with Greg Peterson. Machinery Pete. Man, oh man, has he got a busy week. There's a lot. Go to machinerypete.com and check out everything that is happening and the places that Greg will be. And, of course, check out his YouTube channel as well. Okay. Kurt Kovarik is the VP of Federal Affairs at the Clean Fuels Alliance America. And you know what, Kurt? I'm going to, because we had just an incredible series of events over the weekend. Biden says that he is not running, or at least the Democratic Party says that Biden isn't running. As the guy in charge of federal affairs at the Clean Fuels Alliance, does it change your focus? Does it change your job?
Not to a great extent. If Harris is ultimately the nominee, you would assume that many of the personnel will remain the same within the administration. Much of the policies, particularly that affect our industry on clean fuels, carbon reduction, agriculture promotion, you wouldn't expect a significant change, although, she does hail from California, which has a little bit different perspective on a lot of environmental policies. So that's certainly something that we would keep an eye on. We've looked, she doesn't really have a significant individual track record, so to speak, on biofuels. But if you consider that she's going to be consistent with the administration in terms of implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act, the clean energy provisions there, she should be receptive as to the extent that the administration has under President Biden.
Okay, now I'm sure that you guys have been thinking about, is there going to be a change come this fall? And now we know it for certain. As you just explained, it could be Vice President Harris could become President Harris after the election. I know that you guys have been weighing the odds of an administration change to Republican and to President Trump moving back into the White House. Does it change the odds? Do you think that this is changing the outlook for the election at all?
Well, I think it does. From this perspective, I think that the Trump campaign and their narrative, against President Biden was based on his age, his acuity, and other things. So I think there's going to have to be a pivot from the Trump administration now to point out, what record Harris has, what things she would pursue as president. That the Trump campaign is certainly going to have to educate the populace on what a VP Harris looks like if she's in charge. I don't think there's a whole lot of pivoting that needs to be done on the point of the Harris campaign, because I think the Biden-Harris campaign message has been really focused on President Trump, and what the threat that he might bring, or the positions that he holds that people may not agree with. So I think if the pivoting needs to occur, it's going to have to be in the Trump campaign to try to now point out maybe some of the track record of Harris. She was put in charge of a whole series of things, immigration and other matters. So I would presume, the Trump administration or the Trump campaign probably has been also preparing for this. I mean, there's been many weeks now where there's been speculation that Biden may step aside. So you would imagine that they've somewhat prepared for this contingency, but they're certainly going to have to pivot and focus more on Vice President Harris than they have in the past.
Sure. That makes a whole lot of sense, Kurt. That it's historic times. There's going to be a lot of pivots and recalculating going on as everyone tries to figure it out, make their way to the elections this fall. Okay, tell me about the suit that the Clean Fuels is bringing against EPA. It's about EPA's stated plans to miss the deadline. I don't know how they can get away with doing that, Kurt, but they are. They're stating that they're going to miss their deadline on the RVO announcement for the 2026 usage year, right?
That's exactly right. So what we filed last week was a notice of intent to sue EPA, basically putting the industry on record that if they follow through and do in fact miss the deadline, that we intend to sue them to kind of hold them to it. So just by way of background, the Renewable Fuel Standard requires EPA to set volumes 14 months in advance. We have volumes right now through 2025. So EPA should be working on right now and finalizing by October of this year volumes under that program for all the categories of fuels for 2026. Why we filed this notice of intent to sue is because OMB, Office of Management and Budget, regularly updates their regulatory agenda, and they did that last week and indicated that EPA plans to have a proposal out for volumes for 26 by March of 2025, with the intent to finalize it by December of 2025, signaling that they already believe they're going to be at least a year or more behind setting volumes.
How can they? Man, I wish I could do that, Kurt. Just say, you know what? No, I know I've got a deadline coming up in November, but I'm just going to wait until October of next year to put it out. How can they do that? Is it a special consideration because of the election?
Absolutely not. I joke to others, there's no statutory requirement off ramp in an election year. The legal obligation to fulfill their duty as Congress intended exists whether it's a presidential election year or not. So it's a little bit frustrating. And the reason we're so adamant about this is because EPA in June of last year set volumes for 2023, 2024, and 2025 that in our view are woefully short of what our industry is currently producing. And as a result of that, we've got production facilities coming offline. We have investments in oilseed crush that are being delayed or halted. So all of those economic impacts that were caused by a lackluster RVO that we're living through right now through 2025. It was our hope that we could at least use this process of setting volumes for 2026 to say to EPA, let's course correct here. Let's get this right. Let's set the proper market signals so that we can undo some of this damage. Well, now they're kicking the can a full year, which is really unfortunate and frustrating for us, particularly when we have an EPA administrator who likes to tout the fact that he got the RFS back on track. He says, the previous Trump administration left him a mess and he cleaned it up. Well, now to some extent they're doing the same thing. They're putting everything on hold, creating a mess, and really what it's causing is economic uncertainty for feedstock providers, biofuel producers, marketers of the fuel, delaying all those economic benefits, delaying that economic impact to rural America, delaying the benefit of the carbon reductions.
Wow, man! I tell you, this is beyond frustrating because of all the uncertainty that it does create. That's the bottom line here. And what is the timeline, Kurt? I'm sure that we'd all like to see this case make it to court within the next couple of weeks, so that it would suggest a chance of getting a decision from EPA this fall. Probably not going to happen. What does the timeline look like?
We'll push to have a conversation with EPA in the very near term to get a better sense of their intent and the rationale behind it. But I think our industry will probably take a position on this, early fall to demonstrate that, we're gonna, we don't have a whole lot of leverage here. The court, if we file suit, the court will basically call us in an EPA and say, okay, folks, you've got to come to an agreement as to when you're going to get this done. So we will have the court kind of to some extent acting like a guardian and telling EPA the child here, you've got to get your homework done. When can we expect you to turn in your assignment? And that's the motivation. We don't take issue with EPA just for fun. I mean, there's a lot at stake here. There's economic impacts here. So that's the reason behind it. We want to work with EPA to get robust volume set, but we can't live with unlimited delay.
Right. What's the best case scenario for the outcome here, Kurt?
Knowledge that they've got to do it quicker than the timeline they put out. I mean, December of 2025 is really would really cause hardship within our industry. So the best case scenario is we get them to at least do the work leading up to January 20th, and then hopefully, depending on which administration is sworn in on January 20th, they can pivot quickly to put this proposal out and finalize it by mid-year of next year to at least give the industry some advance time to react to it.
Yeah. Okay. Kurt, you've got in a normal situation, you've got a super busy job, and it just got busier with everything that is happening in this political and presidential campaign season. Man, let's stay in touch. Keep us up to date on how things are progressing, okay?
You got it. Always glad to be with you. Interesting times, Chip.
Yeah. Well, I love it when you come on, Kurt. You do such a great job of explaining what's going on. So really appreciate your efforts. Kurt Kovarik, VP Federal Affairs, Clean Fuels Alliance America. Okay, coming up next, it's that time of the year. We're out doing some scouting. Is it time for a fungicide application? We'll discuss next.
If the world is your oyster, we've got pearls of wisdom on AgriTalk. Welcome back to AgriTalk, everyone. So glad that you are with us on this Monday morning. What a great way to start the week. I start every week with Monday morning AgriTalk, and I know Chip Flory does as well. That's our secret. It's our secret to longevity and expeditiousness. Am I talking out of school here, Chip?
No, you got it. You got it, pal. That's exactly right. A good shot of AgriTalk on Monday morning.
It'll do you.
I can remember I tried every excuse not to have to do my homework in school, and no matter how late I tried to turn it in, it was still late. I never did get it figured out.
You know, if I was more than a year late, I think that would have gotten me a failing grade. I just don't think that there's any question about that. It would have been a failing grade, and I probably wouldn't have gotten. It would have been tough to move forward. I mean, even in kindergarten, if you're a year late, you know what? If you're a year late when you're in kindergarten, you know what you are the next year? In kindergarten. That's
in kindergarten.
It's just is absolutely incredible to me that this would even be something that they would think of. That's what blows me away, Davis.
Yeah, that it's even on the table at all. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, it's kind of like Secret Service Director Cheadle. I saw a little bit of the hearing before we went on the air this morning. I have never. Well, no, I mean, I've seen it before. But to have the topic of the conversation be the near assassination of a former president and her not willing to answer the questions, it just absolutely blows me away. Hopefully Tyler will be much more willing to answer questions. Tyler Harp, Syngenta Technical Product Lead for Fungicides, joins us right now. Hey, Tyler, it's good to talk with you again. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
You bet. I got you, man. I got you. So what's the status across the countryside? What are you hearing about threats to the corn and soybean crops?
Well, we've had a warm winter through most of the Corn Belt, which of course means that overwintering inoculum in the soil is going to be more prolific and have a higher inoculum load going into the spring. All it really needed was a wet spring, and we saw that in many areas throughout the Corn Belt. So, we have some disease out there. We've got leaf spots, and we've got tar spot that's been reported in just about every state where tar spot occurs. And so, that's something that we're going to really need folks to keep an eye on. And of course, tar spot's one of those diseases. It can come in early, but it really is more impactful later in the season. When corn gets to say R3 or R4, there's still probably 50% yield potential left. And tar spot will just take all of that right off the back end. So you want to make sure you use a premium fungicide that's got good residual activity and those legs needed to reach further into the season, and to make sure you manage your crop and protect against tar spot.
Okay, Tyler, what is the process that you want farmers going through to evaluate the need for a fungicide application?
Well, I'll tell you something. The fungicides today, these premium products are not what they used to be. And part of the advantage of what we refer to as a plant health fungicide is that not only does it manage yield robbing diseases, but it has a stress mitigation potential. So, for example, in Maravis Neo, we have a Depidin technology, which is the key active ingredient in Maravis Neo. And not only is it a long-lasting potent fungicide, but it also has this really powerful stress mitigation potential. So even under conditions of low disease, like last year, for example, we were seeing 15 to 18 bushels per acre on average preserved, not because there was a lot of disease to protect from, but because they had the plant health benefits as well. So using a Syngenta plant health fungicide like Maravis Neo or Trivapro, that's going to protect your crop, not only if disease gets bad late in the season, but even if it doesn't, giving you that stress mitigation, making sure those plants are healthier, have greener leaves, better water and nutrient sufficiency, all things we see with these plant health fungicides. So that's one of the things we're really excited about. It really doesn't need to be a situational decision anymore. Is there going to be disease? Is there wetness coming? Is it going to be wet through the rest of the season? And is tar spot going to explode? Because our data shows over 6 seasons that when these products are just used as sound agronomic practice, you're going to get a yield benefit and preservation of yield potential, maximizing the value of that crop year after year.
Okay. I was just going to ask, if you decide to do that, make the fungicide application just part of the production schedule, what should you expect from that application, and what should you expect on returns?
On average, we're showing 15 to 18 bushels per acre in corn and 6 to 8 bushels per acre in soybean. So that's what it shows on average. Of course, we know sometimes you don't have a lot of stress. What's happening with these Syngenta plant health fungicides is they're preserving yield potential in the presence of not only biotic stress, which is caused from diseases, but also abiotic stresses, which are caused from environmental stresses like heat or drought. Then typically those conditions will stop the disease, but you're still getting yield potential from a Syngenta plant health fungicide. And what our data shows is that actually 80% of the time or more, you're going to get a profitable return on your investment. There might be that time when it kind of breaks even or it's a small loss. We do see that from time to time, and those fields just didn't have any stress at all. But that's the exception to the rule. Most fields are going to have at least some stress, whether it's from the disease or whether it's from the environment. And the Syngenta plant health fungicide can protect your yields in the presence of both. That's why the last few years, which have been really dry, we've still seen really significant and profitable yield responses from these fungicides. So you think about it on a 5-year period, if you use the fungicide every year just as part of agronomic practice, what our data clearly shows, one of those years might be a break even or a small loss. 4 of those years will be profitable, and one of those 4 years will be a 20 bushel or more, ring the bell. Wow. And we see that every time we analyze the data. Again, we've got 6 years of data across the corn, but hundreds and hundreds of plots. That's what the data tells us. So there's really no better tool out there for preservation of yield potential.
Okay, Tyler, hey, thank you so much for the conversation here today, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Tyler Harp, Syngenta Technical Product Lead for Fungicides. All right, thank you for listening on this Monday morning. Come back this afternoon. We are going to dig into the markets. We've got Mike North from Ever.ag right here on AgriTalk.